gotta love this time of year. Only one can be champion. Let's go playoff racing! I said, hey, hey, oh, oh, hey, hey, there's no surrender. Let 'em hear my battle cry.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Prado's non-scorer last week wrapped things up at Pocono. Michel Dunion is mathematically unreachable this season and is our new champion. But that doesn't mean he needs to stop at a jaw-dropping 8 wins. The final 2 rounds allow him the chance to extend his astonishing record. What will Japan hold for the Frenchman? We'll find out soon as we get ready for round 11 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Johan Vandenbeld. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Johan, Okayama was an F1 track at one point, but being a newer circuit, certainly didn't see the Lotus 49.
No, you're right, Joe. Okayama, or TI Circuit AIDA, how it was called originally, was only constructed in 1990, so quite a bit after the Lotus 49 saw action. Now, despite this track being built as a private racetrack for the wealthy Japanese, it saw some big racing series as well, primarily the Formula One Pacific Grand Prix in 1994 and 1995. The track itself is a 3.7 kilometer track with a lot of corners in quick succession. There's only one big main overtaking spot, and that's going into the turn 5 hairpin. Now normally that might mean that we see a procession today, but nothing is less true in Okayama because the asphalt of this track is notoriously slippery, making it hard for drivers to get the power down, which opens up the possibility for mistakes. Now, you already mentioned, Joe, that Michel Dunion has clinched the title, but looking at practice earlier today, we're up for a very exciting qualifying session with several drivers close together. So before we see where things stand, let's hop on board our GSRC Lotus 49 for a lap around Okayama.
Alright, we've got Ben Zoko in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Okayama. Coming down into turn 1, this is going to be one of your best opportunities for a pass. Just be sure not to turn in too early to this corner because on the exit, you won't have much time to get back across for Williams. It's just a quick squirt on the power and then you're threading the needle through this off-camber left-hander. It'll take a gentle right foot to find the throttle again and avoid looping it. But the Moss S won't allow you to take it flat out all the way up to Atwood. That makes it surprisingly tough to execute a pass into here, even though it's a hairpin. But much like the last corner, you'll be feathering your way onto the gas all the way up the hill. The opening radius of the exit makes it especially precarious. Those who can feel out the grip and find a better launch will be in a much better position to defend or attack into the hairpin. Other than the front stretch, this is the next most common place for overtakes to happen. If you're defending, consider the banking on the outside though. Keep alongside your opponent, you've got the inside for revolver. That is a very tricky corner to go side by side through, trust me. Then, as you plunge downhill, you swing it through Piper. The pit buildings leave very little room to the outside for runoff, so try your best not to get it out into the grass. From there, you've got a little blast into Redmond. This kicks off the painfully slow back and forth into Hobbs. It's very tough to gain time here, but it's oh so easy to lose a bunch if you botch one of these. The low gears means it's best not to mash the throttle too hard on your way out. You'll need a bit of brake into Mike Knight, let the car drift out, and then set yourself up for this last corner. Obviously, a good run is going to be critical because of this leading up to the first turn, but hopefully you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Okayama.
Here you see a lap around Okayama, which should give you an idea of just how slippery it is around here in this car. Let's take a look at that championship that we mentioned, since we talked about Michel Dudignon wrapping things up. And, well, that's because there's 50 points for a win. Do the math, 2 rounds. Eduardo Prado cannot catch the Frenchman from here on out. Rob Olenek is still fighting with Prado for that second place in the championship, although he's not nearly as close as Thiel is to Olenek. McClarridge up 2 positions into 5th with last week at Pocono. Let's look at the F2 championship, which is much, much closer.
Yeah, absolutely. Technically, the top 17 in this championship can still clinch the title. Now, I don't think that will actually happen. I think there's 3 main protagonists here, and those are the 3 on top. Hugh Haycox, Steve Hogan, and David Rossi. Only 5 points between them. That's mostly because Steve and David Rossi both had a poor run last time around on the Pocono Oval. Didn't score any points there, and that actually meant that they all stayed together. Otherwise, one might have jumped the other two and really crept a solid lead going into the final 2 rounds. Behind them, Philippe Urquhart and Andrew Eng. They are closing down the top 5, and especially Andrew Eng. He had a great run last time around in Pocono. He will look forward, try to get P4 as well.
Let's take a look at the Constructors' Championship. It's probably a foregone conclusion about France taking it at this point, but you can see that the UK could come in and try and clinch things. It's just highly unlikely at this point. If anything, it is much closer between the UK and the US fighting for that one. And there you see Brazil and Germany rounding out your top 5 in the points fight for that Nations Cup. Let's also take a look at the race details, just in case we have some new viewers. Johan?
Yeah, well, as you could all see, this is already round 11 of our 12-round championship. 2 watermarks. It means that there's 2 drop weeks. The 2 worst results of each driver will be removed in their championship contention. The race today at Okayama will be 22 laps, open setups, really helpful for the drivers to make this track a little bit less slippery in their Lotus 49s. The points, they will pay out to 25th position.
Be something to watch out for sure, as poor Jeff unfortunately has a problem in his qualifying, which has started. As always, though, you're watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe when you get the opportunity. All you got to do is click on the little red button that says subscribe. That's how you know that you haven't yet. When you do that, you'll get all of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends series in your YouTube feed each week. Looks like Ove Trankerade is actually our provisional pole sitter. Checking to see, he's on his 2nd lap right now. Mick Claridge has actually just finished his 2nd lap, so he can't take it away. And Michel Dudignon is about halfway through his 2nd, so he could still do better than the number 7. But this is pretty interesting, because we were looking at Claridge and Dudignon about being the battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And judging by practice times, those were the 2 main drivers that we had to keep an eye on. So over Trankerade's time of 27.3 is really, really surprising. I didn't expect someone to beat Michel and Mick today, but it's good to see that the Norwegian is standing there. Michel only has 2 more corners to go though before he completes his 2nd qualifying lap. He needs to gain around 1/10 of a second to beat over Trankerade, who's currently sitting on provisional pole position, coming out of the last corner. Let's actually see where he puts his car. He actually goes 2/10 quicker, so it's the Frenchman on top. He goes to P1. Meanwhile, Rob Olenek also had a good lap time a few seconds ago. He's currently sitting at P4, only 2/10 behind Dudillon.
Don't forget, he and Thiel are in a good fight, and Thiel currently is qualified right behind him. Gary's actually just coming across for his 2nd lap right now, and he goes 2/10 quicker, but it's not enough to go ahead of Olenek. In fact, he's still half a second behind him. By the way, Trankerade's 2nd lap, unfortunately, did not count. He had something happen. I didn't quite see what. So we watch Andrew Eng, who, wow, this is a very good qualifying for Eng. He's up to 12th. Doesn't go faster on his 2nd lap, but that puts him solidly in the mid-pack.
A nice time from him. Over Trankerade has finished his qualifying, but Rob Olenek, he's coming across the last corner now. He has 1 more opportunity. He needs to win 0.08 of a second to get to P3. he doesn't do so. 0.3 of a second slower. Stefan Schlacker, he is currently on his first qualifying attempt. It will be really tight for him to finish his qualifying. Actually, he goes a 1:30.0. P11 in his first attempt. Normally, we see the Austrian a little bit further up the field. He has one more opportunity, and I think, Joe, if I calculate correctly, he'll have 4 seconds to spare once he crosses the start-finish line.
I know he likes to take it late, but that is cutting it awful close, especially if he has any sort of mistake on the first lap. Trangrade's finished both of his laps, as I mentioned. Ang has finished with his as the only other driver out on track. So Schlacker is the last one to try to get one in. He's coming down the backstretch towards one of those corners that you mentioned is pretty much the only good place to try and get a pass in, down here into the hairpin. Trying to get the car to turn, and then it immediately switches back, continuing to plunge downhill through Revolver. Look at that car slide through there, though.
Yeah, Stefan is really working the wheel to try and keep it in a straight line. He's struggling a little bit getting the power down as well. Car squirming away once he reaches for the throttle. This is one of those two hairpins in quick succession there near the end of the lap. You really have to give up the first corner to get a good line to the second one, so you can take some more momentum down to the final two corners. Swings past the pit entrance here. Goes wide, no off tracks for the Austrian. One more corner to go. He goes now on the throttle. We have 10 seconds left in qualifying, but he will make it. He has a 1:30.010 coming over the start-finish line. He actually goes quicker by a lot, 0.4 of a second. Doesn't win him any position though, so he stays in P11.
Certainly seems like lap times are pretty far apart here in that way. But let's go over that qualifying order for you. Michel Dudignon with another pole, but Ove Trangrade certainly seems to be quick here today. He'll be starting on the outside of him. Then in row 2 on the inside, it is Mick Claridge in third with Rob Olenek starting P4. Gary Teal just behind him in 5th, and Bruce Snelson in P6 today. Daniel Sadro starts in the 7th position. Ian Haycox will be P8 at the drop of the green. Then Jeff Lovell did get a lap in, at least with his other lap, of course, being a bit of a no-go. He'll start 9th. David Rossi rounds out your top 10.
Stefan Schlacker starts on the inside of row 6 in P11. He is flanked by Matt Humans. Andrew Ang, good qualifying for him, right in the middle of the field in P13 in front of Philippe Urquhart. Colin Coker starts in P15 in front of Yulo for Colin. Johnny Bell in P17 in front of Andres Bruno. Jasmine Beach is on row 10, the inside in front of Gary Anderson. And then outside of the top 20, there's 3 drivers without a qualifying time. Those are Colin Bentley, Paul Ferrer, and Robert Reynolds.
And Ove Trangrade just got in the chat and mentioned that he's not sure if he would prefer to be up front or in the sandwich, because neither seems all that desirable. Sandwich being that of Dudignon and Claridge, 2 known hot shoes, but I don't think he needs to worry too much because Ove Trangrade has proven himself. The lights are up out here. The engines start to rev. Green flag is out for round 11 of the Grand Prix Legends, and Dudignon is decent off the line, but not so for Ove Trangrade as Claridge takes a look around the outside. That doesn't quite seem to pay off. Everybody working their way through turn 1. Looks like we got a clean field.
It looks like that for sure. Stefan Schlacker was very close. Also a little bit of contact between Johnny Bell and Andres Bruno in the back of the field. Both cars can continue though.
We even just about had contact between Trangrade and Claridge. Claridge got it away in turn 2. And he is now up to 2nd place. We got a car almost off in the back. Spinning, that's Snelson.
Yeah, Snelson put his wheels on the grass, put the throttle down, and actually spun him around. I think it was into the nut. Ian Haycox was had contact there as well.
Back to that later. Trangrade falls down to 3rd with Rob Olenek close behind him. And now we got a big wreck down into the hairpin. Who's that off to the inside stop?
Jeff Lovell.
You're just talking about him before the race, saying that I think he's a newcomer, and that is not the way that he wanted to start his appearance here on the broadcast races. Already into Redmond and Hobbs for our top of the field. Dudignon still up at the front. Claridge trying to give chase to see if he can stop him from taking a perfect score this season. Had another incident, this time Gary Anderson, who gets the car going. I don't think he hit anything.
Yeah, he had contact with Paul Ferrer, but Paul Ferrer spun into him. So another 2 drivers that had contact with each other. A lot of incidents though in lap 1 here at Okayama, but up front, Michel de Jong is just driving away from Claridge, already a second ahead of the Brit, who's more looking in his rearview mirror because over Trangerate he was quick in qualifying and seems to be quick in the race as well.
A lot of incidents, but everybody is still going of our
Ooh,
24
Claridge!
starters.
Claridge almost losing control, and now side by side, almost contact with Trangerate. Both are throwing the car into turn 4, and then Rob Olenek is right in the mix. Look at him run, and Olenek gets out of the corner onto the back straight. He is way quicker than Over Trangerate. Olenek is now on the inside. Over Trangerate cannot go to the inside to defend, and he is also later on the brakes, Rob. And 180 the corner to the left. Oh, Mick again! Again, very, very loose with his car. This is something, and he has contact with Rob Olenek as well.
Olenek holds onto it, so does Mick Claridge. He's barely grasping onto that second place. I'm not sure how much longer he can keep it. It looks like he does solidify it, though, and keeps Olenek at bay. But as all these drivers are fighting for second, Michel Dudignan is looking in his mirrors and grinning. He is 3 seconds up the road. It is a train back here now. Claridge second, Olenek third. Trangerate is fourth. Gary Thiel is back there in fifth. And then at the end of this, in sixth place, is Daniel Sadro.
The way that Nick Claridge is driving at the moment reminds me so much of how he was driving in Oran Park a few races ago, when he had so much difficulty getting his car slowed down in corners every time he was sliding, and it seems like he's struggling with that today as well. At the moment, he's just barely holding Rob Olenek behind him. Over Trangerate and Gary Thiel, and not that far away either. Daniel Sadro and Stefan Slacker, they're also catching up to the P2 driver.
And Nick later told us that was a technical problem at Oran Park, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could be experiencing that again, where he was losing frame rates. He's still up ahead of Olenek, but look at Rob trying to get the launch off the corner. Doesn't quite work out. Claridge looks a little bit stronger down the backstretch. They finally get a little bit away from one another for the first time in a while.
Yeah, but everything bunches up again once he reaches the hairpin going through Revolver. Rob Olenek is still very close by, and this is one of the things that we were talking about in the pre-show, Joe. It's so difficult to actually get by the driver in front. If you want to get by, you either have to wait for a mistake of the car in front or set yourself up for several corners in a row so you can get the momentum to get past.
Well, we've seen our fair share of mistakes already as we watch from on board Olenek heading through Mike Knight and into the final corner. Maybe a launch off of this last turn. Doesn't look particularly strong compared to Mick Claridge. He is stronger than Ove Trangerate behind him, who loses ground. Michel Dudignan, in the meantime, stretching away, setting the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, Dudignan is driving away, but meanwhile for Claridge, good lap last time around for him at 28.0. Drives away with almost a second from Gary Thiel and Daniel Sadro. So really stretching that 5-car battle, making it a 3-car battle for P2. Meanwhile, let's go to P10. That's a good battle. Side by side for turn 2. Andrew Eng, Philippe Urquhart are battling hard. Matt Gielmans is also right there. This is the battle for P10 with the overtake of Philippe Urquhart. Ooh, as Andrew Eng goes off.
And that was very similar to what we saw with Mick Claridge, except that poor Eng was not able to save the car.
Yeah, he put his left wheels on the grass while braking, and that just meant he had no grip trying to get the car slowed down. We go on the replay on board, you see his wheels on the grass.
And let's stay on this replay, because let's go to Mick Claridge. He just got second away from Olenek. That was through the hairpin. There you see the battle right there, side by side, not only through the hairpin, down through Revolver, and finally it settles out in Piper, with Claridge coming away the victor and getting second place back from Rob.
Good defense from Mick Claridge there. He really know where to position his car so he would have the inside several corners in a row and stay in front of Olenek. Good defending from the grip.
All this fighting is not helping their cause to try and chase down Dudignan. Is now 4.5 seconds that he is up the road. But you're right about this 3-car breakaway. Certainly looks like this is the hot one up at the front. Ove Trangerate showing some pace in qualifying. It looks like he's a little bit antsy to take his positions back. He's been glued to the rear of Olenek. backstretch off of Atwood. That was a good launch by Ove. Not sure that he's going to be quite close enough. They break down into the hairpin. Looks like it was just not meant to be this time.
Yeah, it seems like Rob Olenek is strong on the brakes in that corner going into the hairpin, so he really is able to defend from the Norwegian there. Let's take a quick look on P7, because there's also a nice battle going on there. Stefan Slacker won some positions at the start as well. He overtook Ian Haycox, who actually stayed in P8 where he started. But Ian Haycox is quicker at the moment. He's putting pressure on the Austrian in front. Meanwhile, David Rossi behind him. He's using giant leaps to get closer. Half a second last time around. So it's a nice free car battle at the moment. We got on board with Rossi. Now, this is an important race for Rossi, of course, who is fighting for the championship in the Formula 2. And with being in front of Hugh Haycox and Steve Hogan, who are not here today, he will be able to score a massive amount of points in that championship.
He had a horrible exit off the final turn, though, but not so for Haycox. Doesn't take a look down into turn 1. Stefan Schlacker qualified in 11th. And as you mentioned, up to 7th now. It's a nice climb. Whoa, he came across the track very late. He was clear, but certainly came right across the bow of Ian Haycox. Haycox very close as they come up to Atwood. Is he trying to tempt fate into here? He does. Sticks his nose in. But unfortunately, I wonder if this will compromise his exit off the corner.
It seems like Ian Haycox is really strong through that corner, however, stronger than Stefan Slacker, and he's actually in the draft at the moment, using every little bit to get closer. Stefan Slacker once again defending, but a late dummy move from Ian Haycox. Beautiful from Ian Haycox. Sets it to the inside of the hairpin, gets by the Austrian and gets P7.
What a save by Stefan. That car got all sorts of sideways when they banged wheels there, but he held it together and only lost that one place. He could have easily had David Rossi slip through. Great stuff between them. Oh, he took a look down into Redmond, thinking maybe he could sneak that one back. Was not to be. So Ian Haycox up to P7 now. I like this from Ian. This is feisty stuff.
Yeah, not only that, also just great spatial awareness to avoid Stefan Slacker after that second move. Now let's get back to P2, because that battle is still very, very feisty as well. Rob Olenek following the Claridge over Trangrade, not far behind. And Gary Thiel, Daniel Cedro, they are a little bit behind. Not that far. Oh, actually, let's go to the battle of P5 at the moment, because they're side by side going towards Atwood Curve. Daniel Cedro on the inside at the moment. Keeps it on the inside, Gary Thiel on the outside. You will be able to get more momentum there, but you also run out of road quicker. Going onto the back straight, it seems like Daniel Cedro is not close enough, although he will have a little bit of draft to get closer. Gary Thiel defending the inside now, but lane braking there from Cedro to put his car side by side. Trying to go all the way around here in the hairpin. Doesn't manage to do so into revolving.
Couldn't keep it side by side. If he did, he would have had it into the left-hander potentially. He squares him up for another go a little bit later.
Oh, sorry, let's go to P7. Ian Haycox and Stefan Slacker just had contact, and Stefan Slacker hard into David Rossi.
Oh, and he gets hit once again. Philip Urquhart knocking him off track. There you can see in the background. It all came to naught.
Yeah, and if we go to a helicopter shot of the crash between Ian Haycox and Stefan Slacker, you can see they were fighting very hard here. It seems to be netcode that caused Stefan Slacker to turn around there. Once Stefan Slacker spun around, David Rossi couldn't avoid him and Urquhart couldn't.
He tried to get it out of the racing line. Unfortunately, that was just as the car was coming and Philip Urquhart got into him. Philip's view. Oh, and Philip was trying his best to go all the way to the outside just as Stefan moved the car into his way, unfortunately. Yeah, if it weren't for the netcode that sent Stefan around, that was actually a pretty brave, and I would call it a legit move down into Revolver, where he managed to get to the inside there. Just unfortunately all went awry. As we come to second place once more, it is still Claridge ahead of Trangrade, ahead of Olenek. Actually, wasn't Olenek ahead of Trangrade before?
That's a good question. He was until 2 laps ago.
We must have missed the overtake there. So that moves the Norwegian up to P3 on the podium. Clearly fast because he's already all over the gearbox of Mick Claridge as they come out of the final corner.
Oh, what a good run over Trangerate is having there out of the final corner. Mick actually has to go defensive and late braking there from the Norwegian who cannot get his car slowed down, squirming under the brakes. Still side by side, Mick Claridge gets in front again. What a save from the Norwegian to not lose control of his car there and even not lose a position.
There's been some magnificent car control here today. Whoa, speaking of which, as Mick Claridge gets all out of sorts through the Moss S and somehow keeps the position and keeps it pointed forward. Ove Trangerade now looking every which way, hoping to try and get by, but he's just not close enough coming out of Atwood. Olenek as well looks like he's not going to have an opportunity. Still, Trangerade's going to cover him off down to the inside.
Yeah, look from Olenek down the outside, but kind of futile from the start. These three drivers, however, are showcasing why driving in the Lotus 49 is incredible. Great fighting between all of them, especially at Okayama, where just the slippery asphalt makes it a little bit more difficult to get the power down properly.
Don't need to go to it, but something seems to have happened to Johnny Bell and Gary Anderson. They are in the pits now, but this really is where the action is at. We'll try and update you on what happened to those two drivers. If you're wondering why they're slipping around so much, let's take a glance at the weather real quick up at the top, because it's 119 degrees on the track surface. So on a track that is already lacking grip, they have the cards stacked against them today.
Wow, that's incredible. I don't think we've had this high temperatures all season long, so that's really one probably the worst track to have these high temperatures, and the drivers are surely having fun with that. Look at Rob Olenek, however. He's dropping away a little bit from Trangerate in Claridge at the moment. Let's see if he can catch up in two hard braking zones. The first one here through Atwood, taking a different racing line. And look at Trangerate. He has a great line. This Claridge cannot get the power down, and Norwegian is side by side. A little bit slower, however, but he's on the preferred line on the inside.
Ooh, this is going to be a tough game of chicken, but Trangerade is usually pretty good on the brakes. He's got the inside to the hairpin. Can he fend him off down into Revolver? Claridge maybe takes a look. Oh, he's given spaces. There's a mistake from Ove Trangerade. That allows him back in, down into Piper. To the inside once again. Mick Claridge has got it, and so does Rob Olenek have a little bit of space. He's going to try and finish the job down into Redmond. Almost a defensive move, but it was too late to shut the door from Ove Trangerade. He realized it, came back to the racing line, still side by side through Hobbs. It switches back to the right side. The next two corners going to be the right-handers, three corners actually, as they come through Mike Knight into the final corner. Ove Trangerade has it clear. Has he fended him off? I think he's done it.
Fantastic. Ove Trangerade is clear from Rob Olenek, who almost made it a 2-for-1 because Mick Claridge went very loose through Redman as well. Almost lost the precision. Meanwhile, lap traffic in the form of Robert Reynolds just in front of these three drivers. Let's see if they can all get by before turn 2. They can get all by before Williams. It's just single file once again. Rob Olenek is looking very feisty now compared to Ove Trangerade. He's strong on the braking. Can take a look to the inside, but he opts out to stay on the racing line. Tries to get good momentum out of Atwood here.
It was awfully close to Ove coming into the apex, but another bobble off the corner from Mick Claridge. He's struggling at Atwood. Trangerade going to be on the other side this time compared to last time. To the outside, all the way into the grass from Mick Claridge as he ducks it down to the apex. Unfortunately for him, that gives Ove Trangerade the insight into Revolver. Now through Piper. Can he do what Mick did to him last time through? Not quite. Mick Claridge carrying the momentum the long way around. This forces Ove Trangerade into defense, down into Redmond. And once again, Rob Olenek can't do it.
Rob Olenek is basically the only driver that is taking the normal racing line because both Claridge and Trangerade are going to the inside to defend and attack. And that almost shaves the way for Rob Olenek to just drive where no one is driving all the time. Meanwhile, out of the last corner, Once again, a great run from the Norwegian. Only 2 car lengths between himself and Mick Claridge. He goes back to the racing line. Mick defends the inside. Through turn 1 over train guy. Tries to swing it around the outside. Cannot make it stick. Rob Olenek is not close enough to put his car there. Another bubble for Mick Claridge. You cannot get the power down. Through Williams. Everything seems to settle a little bit, but this is where we caught it last time around. And look at over Trangerate. Only 1 car length behind Mick Claridge. Again, a big moment of oversteer through the Moss S chicane there. As over Trangerate now has a lot of problems for Atwood. Very wide as Mick Claridge almost loses control of the car. Has to step on the brakes, and then he gets the opportunity to Rob Olenek and Gary Thiel to get by. Olenek to P2. Let's see what Gary Thiel does. He's now on the inside of Mick Claridge. Who will brake later? It seems like Mick Claridge can defend and keep his podium position for now.
Wow, 2 positions in one straight for Rob Olenek. He's got to be thanking his lucky stars. Ove actually lost a position in that with Gary Thiel sneaking through, who is now up to P4. Claridge falls to 3rd position. So now that Olenek is by, can he start to stretch away? These 3 have been stuck, but now they've been joined. As we said, Gary Thiel has caught them, and Daniel Sadro is the back of what returns to a 5-car train fight for 2nd place. They come back to the front stretch. Olenek already pulling a gap.
Yeah, Olenek and Claridge might be very happy with Gary Thiel overtaking over Trangerate, because it almost seemed like over Trangerate was the quickest of the 3. But now he's stuck behind Gary Thiel, and that might mean that Claridge and Olenek can drive away from him. On board with Ove, he will be trying to put pressure on Gary Thiel. He's not that close though through Williams. Around 2-3 car lengths between them, and in front you can just see the blips of Claridge and Olenek getting smaller and smaller. Through Atwood Corner now, sliding there. Different racing line than Gary Thiel. Goes a little bit wider. That might allow him to get more momentum. He's 2-3 car lengths behind as he goes onto the back straight. Tries to close the gap down in the draft. Not close enough, it seems like. Doesn't even look on the inside. Meanwhile, behind him, Daniel Sedero in the 5 machine is also very close by, chewing popcorn and just waiting to see what happens in front.
This was atrocious timing for Trangerade, because he, as you mentioned, is now stuck here and watching his 2 rivals get away. He's going to look down into Redmond. He's very deep, almost gets chopped off, getting a little bit of space. Car contact between himself and Thiel. Both drivers managed to come away from it. I don't want to say unscathed though. And Ove starts to lose ground.
Yeah, let's see if both cars actually had no damage there, because it was wheel-on-wheel contact, and if you damage the suspension in this car, it will be very difficult with all those quick corners with low grip to keep it in a straight line. Meanwhile, the gap between Trangerate and Claridge has grown to 2.5 seconds, so they're just losing more and more contact to their rivals. Meanwhile, it seems like Gary Thiel is having some connection issues. He's bleeding a little bit, but over Trangerate, he has to defend more against Daniel Sedro at the moment, and he can fight forward.
And by the way, we're well past halfway in this race. It has absolutely flown by with only 9 left to go. And is 2nd place? He didn't, or no, this is 12th place, I believe. 10th place. Eventually I'll get it. Matt Yeomans, along with Philippe Urquhart, fighting for this position. A lot has been happening in the midfield. We just haven't been able to get to it. Colin Coker had an incident multiple laps ago where he hit the wall. He's fallen down the order. He's in 17th. Right now we're watching Philippe, who is in the green and yellow car. The yellow and black of Matt Yeomans ahead of him. Down the back stretch. Just not a good exit for Philippe, and he unfortunately is going to lose touch.
Yeah, and in front of these 2 drivers is David Rossi, who's slower than the 2 drivers behind him. I think that David might be having some damage from his contact with Stefan Slacker earlier in the race. David was just overtaken by Bruce Nelson, who is now taken P8. And I think that David Rossi will be looking behind him to try and keep Matt and Philippe behind.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that as long as they don't fight too much, they could run him down. Whoa, as the number 11 has a big slide, David Rossi having his own struggles out there on track. He's got to be careful, or else he'll gift it to these 2. Out of the final corner. Ooh, it started to look like a good run from Philippe. Unfortunately, it started to go away. Oh, and looks like Matt is going to let him have it. brakes a little bit earlier as he pulled over. Indeed, Philippe Urquhart now up to P10.
Let's go back to P4. The battle between Gary Thiel and Ove Trangerate is still going on. Has picked up the pace and has closed down the gap to Gary Thiel. You can see on screen now the two are. Daniel Cedro isn't that far away either, but the two drivers in front, Claridge and Olenek, are driving away by almost a second per lap. So Ove Trangerate at the moment seems like he has to forget about his podium chances to just hope for a P4 result. Before that, he has to best Gary Thiel in front, who is very, very strong at defending here at Okayama, making his car wide through his final two hairpins, going to the last two corners of the lap.
And all of this is happening behind Michel Dudignon, who is now 14.5 seconds ahead of the next car. You can see just set another fastest lap, but it looks like Gary Thiel was not strong out of the final corner just as we cut away, because Ove Trangerate is down to the inside as they come into turn one. He's got a nose in and they're side by side, but it's going to switch back into Williams. And this is an off-camber corner. He's going to have a tough time trying to seal the deal here. And he can't. He's still close behind as they come through the Moss S. This has been a very tricky point on the lap for a number of cars. Looks to the inside, but a late defense from Gary Thiel fends him off. They now swing it through Atwood, climbing up the hill onto the backstretch. Everybody squirming under power as they try to get the throttle down on these cars in these hot conditions. Nobody changes positions. A little bit of a look to the inside from Sadro down into the hairpin, but nothing comes of it.
Great defense from Thiel, however, in Atwood curve. He parked his car right in the middle of the corner. Oh, behind him, Sadro on the grass loses control of his car. Actually loses a little bit of time there. Doesn't spin around, but just positioning his car on the grass. Now he actually had a wobble going towards Revolver there. That saw him on the grass losing a little bit of time. You see it here going on the throttle there, trying to get side by side with Ove Trangerate. Wobbles off the track. Great save, however, from Daniel Cedro.
Yeah, it was. The number 5 looks like, as we're back live, has some quick hands on him, but he lost ground to Trangerate. Sadro now about a second and a half back. Trangerate can finally focus a little bit more ahead than behind. Slightly wide coming off the exit of the first corner, brings it back to the racing line through Williams, but still not anything on offer for that 4th place with Gary Thiel up ahead.
Ove Trangerate is a little bit far away from Gary Thiel at the moment, who is actually outbraking himself, Gary Thiel. You can see the smoke squirming away from under his tires. That might give an opportunity to the Norwegian. He's still 3-4 car lengths behind as they go onto the back straight, but in the draft he will close the gap bit by bit. He can try a late dive to the inside. He doesn't do so, stays behind in the hairpin. No traffic right in front of them. Meanwhile, there's a heavy battle going on as well between Rob Olenek and Mick Claridge for P2. So Mick Claridge has completely caught the back from Rob Olenek. And as they go towards Redman corner, it seems like they stretch out a little bit. They were almost side by side going through Piper there. So Mick Claridge now really upping up the ante, trying to get P2.
We're right on board with Mick. Going to try and get this position back away. These two have swapped it back and forth a couple times this race. Falls back in the last 2 corners, just not strong. Ooh, and actually catches a little bit of the dirt as well off the corner, so that costs him even more. It's hard to tell where to look between 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th with how close both of these battles are off of Williams. Mick's starting to struggle a little bit more. This is exactly what Olenek has been wanting.
Yeah, it seems like Mick Claridge again here through Atwood curve. He just cannot get the car slowed down, cannot follow the ideal line as well as Rob Olenek does. Again here on throttle, squirming wheels on the grass. Lucky he doesn't spin it around there. That kind of loses all the momentum that Claridge had, and it's easy defense for Olenek. Let's go to Ove Trangerate, who is a lot closer to Gary Thiel for P4. Doesn't take a look to the inside of the hairpin, however, but he stays very close by. Different racing line through the hairpin, trying to get more momentum through Revolver. Doesn't manage to get enough momentum to put it side by side. He's still close as they go through Piper. Now it will be difficult to try to take a look on the inside as they go through Redman. as the Norwegian actually loses around the car lane. Gary Thiel very strong through Revolver and Piper, the double left-hander. Just wins exactly the amount of space that he needs to defend and not worry about the late dive from the Norwegian. The track race struggling a little bit to get the power down as they go to the last corner. Now he needs a good exit out of the final corner, Joe, if he wants to try and move into turn 1.
A little bit of a slide through there, unfortunately, going to deny the number 7 car. Again, you're watching Trangrade in the purple, and that's Gary Thiel in the white and blue. Oh, boy, mid-corner. It seems like Trangrade's very strong. Oh, as he slips around under braking into Williams, and that costs him some time. But mid-corner really doesn't help him pass, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's almost like Gary Thiel knows that over Trangrade is very strong mid-corner, so he just waits a little bit before he goes back on the throttle, so he makes sure that he has the ideal line. But at the same time, he just covers off, makes sure that over Trangrade cannot go as early on the throttle as he wants. Meanwhile, P2 very close. Rob Olenek and McLaren still nose to tail. McLaren's only 1 car length behind. He seemed to be really close for the hairpin, but he doesn't again manage to put it side by side as he reaches Revolver.
Go to it, but we had a change for position on 11th. Bruno managed to get by Yeomans and take that position. I wonder if Matt is dealing with some damage. Another little mistake from McClarridge coming out of Redmond. He's only got to do this for 3 more laps, but the question is, can he survive those 3 laps the way this car is looking currently?
Yeah, you would almost think that if there's gonna be one overtake, it's gonna be over Trangrade and Gary Thiel, because boy, the Norwegian has looked very strong. Look at the run he has from the final corner. Gary Thiel actually doesn't defend the inside, so over Trangrade goes now side by side through turn 1, but on the outside, Gary Thiel seems to have a little bit more momentum. Over Trangrade can go earlier on the throttle, however, still side by side as they go through Williams. Both cars squirming, sliding through that corner, through the S's, side by side. It is really difficult, and over Trangrade seals the deal before they reach Atwood Curve.
Whew, he did that one the hard way. I can't believe he managed to complete the pass on the outside of Williams. That is no easy task. So that brings Trangrade to 4th. Thiel is down to 5th. Sadro's not been able to catch them ever since he fell off earlier. He has not regained the ground. And he loses another position to Yeomans. Looks like Colin Bentley now got by. Something seems to be wrong with the number 12, unfortunately. As we watch the battle for P2. Gonna get 2 laps to go this time by. Claridge recaught Rob Olenek through the middle half of the lap. Every time he catches them, mistakes seem to cost him a little bit more time. Moving on with another fastest lap, not resting on his laurels.
No, this is one dominating performance from the Frenchman, who is currently 14 seconds in front of Olenek and Claridge. Great run from him, and he's just driving all by himself, all alone. The only thing that he has to worry about is passing traffic, but he has been superb today once again. Just really, really quick. Meanwhile, let's go back to the battle for P2, because McLaren, we see that with 2 laps to go, he has basically 2 opportunities left to get by Rob Olenek as to go through Atwood Curve. It seems like Rob was struggling a little bit, wider line, sliding a bit more. McLaren is just behind him. He is in the draft. He gets closer and closer, but it seems, Joe, that he's a little bit too far away to put it side by side.
Rob has looked a lot more smooth in front of Mick than Mick was in front of everybody else earlier. Granted, based on the fact that they've swapped back and forth and not been able to get away from each other, it seems to suggest that they are legitimately even on pace. This isn't anything keeping them close together. Whew, Mick really swinging the car through Redmond, using up every inch of track to see if it'll help. It does not, unfortunately. They have Colin Coker up ahead of him, lap traffic, as the white flag comes out. Our leader now on his final tour here around Okayama.
Still going purple. He's not slowing down on the final lap of the race, Dudion. Meanwhile, let's go back to P2 because we can maybe pick up Dudion at the end of this lap because P2 is still going on strong because Claris and Olenek are coming across Colin Coker and a bit of lap traffic might be all that Claridge needs to get by. Well, no, they actually get by him on Sesses already. It was way quicker than it is. Well done by Colin Coker to just let both of them by. But this gives McLaren one more opportunity to try it for the hairpin. He just squirmed so much on the throttle. You can see it on screen once again. He just, before he's full power, it's just already almost halfway the straight. And McLaren cannot get enough speed to put it side by side with Rob Olenek.
Unfortunately, the hairpin doesn't offer him a chance. Let's go to Michel Dudignan because there is a mere 2 corners left to go in this lap. He is just about to be 1 race away from having a perfect score with his 2 drop weeks getting dropped from the points. A win in every column that counts. He comes to the line and takes victory here in Okayama, 9th of the season.
P2, meanwhile, Rob Olenek is still in front of Big Claridge with 1 more corner to go. I don't think that Rob Olenek will give this up. In the case he won't, Rob Olenek comes out of the final corner, besting Mick Claridge, winning 2 positions this race, finishing P2. Mick Claridge rounds out the podium. Behind him, over Triangulate, finishes a little bit alone in P4. Then Gary Thiel finishes in front of Daniel Severo, both of them P5, P6 respectively.
This was also a great run from Ian Haycox. Poor guy didn't get any screen time hardly at all, except for the fight with Schlocker. But he finishes in 7th. That will certainly help him in his points today. Snelson behind him, way behind him, about 7 seconds back there in 8th. Rossi in that F2 championship, taking a well-earned 9th. Looks like we got a little bit of a battle for 14th. This is still on the lead lap. Andrew Ang defending heavily into Hobbs' corner. Paul Ferrer trying to get the run off of it, and I think he's going to. Ang not able to get the throttle down. Paul Ferrer on the outside of Mike Knight corner. All he's got to do is be smooth off the last turn, and it looks like Paul's got it.
What a battle these two had last time around. Paul Ferrer made a mistake in Edwood Curve and that allowed Andrew Ang to go by. But Paul Ferrer made up his mistake in the final lap. Great fight between them.
Those two were our last drivers on the lead lap, so let's take a quick break as they're the last ones by the line. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews on screen. You'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC.
Of the best sim racers, $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is the most competitive and sought after season in iRacing World Championship history. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Super Cup.
Welcome back to Okayama Circuit, where we just watched round 11 here of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series. And despite the championship being wrapped up, they prove once again why you need to tune in each and every week, because we had an almighty battle. But it wasn't for the lead. Duden Jan, nearly 15 seconds up the road by the time the checkers came out. Olenek came away with second place. It was between himself, the driver who finished behind him, Mick Claridge, who got third. Ove Trangerade was in there as well. He finished fourth. Gary Teal was in the fight. He managed fifth in the end, just ahead of the other driver who was briefly in it, Daniel Sadro, who got sixth. Then you had a gap back to the next car. Ian Haycox, despite a quiet race towards the end, he had a good battle himself with Stefan Schlacker. Unfortunately, it went south for Stefan. Ian does get seventh out of that. Bruce Snelson with a P8. And then David Rossi collecting valuable points in his F2 championship, finishing ninth today. Philippe Urquhart, who ran into Stefan Schlacker, has to settle for P10.
Behind him, Andres Bruno is the first driver outside of the top 10. He finishes P11 in front of Colin Bentley. Matt Humans, he seemed like he had to struggle with some damage in the final parts of the race. He comes home P13. Paul Ferrer making up 8 positions today, also beating Andrew Eng to the line for P14. And there's a few drivers that finished a lap down. Kilo for Colin comes home in P16. Colin Coker in P17. Jasmine Beach finishes in 18th position. Robert Reynolds in 19th. And then there's a few drivers that didn't see the checkers. Johnny Bell on P20. Gary Anderson at P21. And Jeff Lovell and Stefan Schlacker retired earlier on in the race.
That's your 23 car field, and we've got second place ready to talk to us, Rob Olenek. Rob, do you need a towel after that? Because that looked pretty intense.
Oh yeah, my wrist is soaking wet. My back is too, but that was fun.
Talk to us a little bit about the fight. Briefly, you were ahead at the start. Mick then got by, and you had to wait for something of an opportunistic move to get back into P2.
Absolutely. This track, I didn't like this track when I first drove it a long time ago, but it just creates great battles. Same in Camel with the Audi. You can have side by sides that go a whole lap, and when you try and get by, it's really difficult. You know, the corners go back and forth, so one guy has the advantage, then the other guy has the advantage. But when I was behind Mick and Ove, I was poking and prodding, and they were going a little slower because they're battling, and I'm right there, and it really just took Mick, I think, a little slide, and that might have caught Ove out a little, and I happened to be the lucky one to get back on the power down the straight and make it by. If it was just a little less and Mick could have stayed beside me, I don't know if I would have been able to make it by.
Did you have a hot set for today? Because I don't know if you paid attention to the temperatures. It was as high as 119 degrees at some points during this race.
It wasn't a hot or cold. I mean, it was hot in almost every practice I was in anyway, so I had kind of set the car up that way. I struggled with setup this week. I kept trying to set it up the way I normally do. Basically, Mick taught me, you really got to use the power ramp and the coast. And it wouldn't stick. So, I struggled and tried to keep it, those are the main two things to go fast in this car. And finally backed it off and added a little more preload, and then I could control the car a lot better and got quicker. So I think my set helped me a lot today. But
you definitely looked a lot more steady in places than Mick, but we did hear from him in chat that unfortunately it was technical issues that was partly causing his problems. Congratulations. Yeah, that was a well-earned second place.
All right. Thanks, guys.
That was second place finisher Rob Olenek. Next up, Johan's going to talk to Stefan Schlacker, who was sadly a DNF today.
Yeah, Stefan, welcome to the booth. Yeah, unfortunately, we saw you retire earlier in this race, but you had a great battle until that point with Ian Haycox. How was it from your point of view?
Yeah, it was really great. I knew that at one point I will be losing the battle out to Ian because I was just that much slower than him. At the very first 3 laps, I tried to even stick with the top 6, but that was a fight that I lost quite quickly. So I have to say my eyes were much more on 8th than 7th because I said Ian that was a battle that I was eventually going to lose out. It's just sad that it ended like this with 2 net codes, and then yeah, that thing with Philippe, really have to say sorry to him. I saw him coming in the relative and just tried to get out of the middle of the track, and yeah, unfortunately, he was exactly where I was going.
Yeah, unfortunate to see what happened there. Now, until that point, you had a good race, and we also just asked a question to Rob. The temperature today was incredibly high. We had temperature highs of 190 degrees Fahrenheit, 48 degrees Celsius. How was that for you on track? Did you do anything different than normally? Different setup, different way of attacking the drivers to really counteract the high temperatures?
I didn't know that we had a high temperature until you just said it. No, I was having quite a neck pain today all day, so I didn't put any practice in. I just used the Orn Park setup and raced with that. But no, it explains now quite a few things why I was struggling so hard with mid-turn grip. Um, yeah, I don't know. High temperatures, this car, it doesn't really like it, but it also doesn't really hate it. It's somewhere in the middle state. You can feel that you're losing some grip, but if you still do it right, you can take that as your advantage, like I tried to do with Ian when I tried to attack him again. I just took the entry and the middle of the corner a little bit slower and really tried to gun it off. That's what brought me into his inside there at Revolver. Um, it's just you have to change your lines according to how hot the track is, and some people can adapt really well to it, and some really struggle with that.
Well, it's a shame to see at least what happened with you in the end. It was good to see at least a good fight with Ian Haycox, and we hope to see you again next week at Spa to close out the season with a bang.
Oh, for sure, and let's see if I can once again gain 4 positions on the start.
Exactly. Well, let's keep an eye on that. Stefan Slacker, a driver today who retired first, unfortunately, but a good battle nevertheless.
And that's going to wrap us up for today. So we want to thank the Lotus 49 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And we also want to thank iRacing for putting us on the iRacing Esports Network. Again, make sure and subscribe. All you got to do is click the big red button that says subscribe. Sounds simple enough, doesn't it? And then you won't miss a moment here on IESN. Of course, also thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Johan, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. The final race of the season a week from now will be at Spa. That'll be Saturday, August 31st at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.